Shadow Justice Secretary Steve Reid is with us. What to say? What can one say?
What can you say, Kay? I mean, this is beyond sickening that a 9-year-old little girl in her own home has been shot in cold blood by a deranged gunman who just ran in off the street and was able to kill her. Now, I know the city of Liverpool. I've visited there many times. That is a place with a big heart and a really strong sense of community. And I know the pain that people in Liverpool will be feeling today. And I know everyone in that city will want to encourage anybody who has any information about who this killer was will go and report that to the police, because frankly, Kay, if they can do this once, they can do it again, and that person needs to be got off the street. But for now, I think for all of us, for in this studio and watching on TV, our hearts go out to that little girl and her family. It is simply heartbreaking.
Your Shadow Justice Secretary speaking to the government in the last hour about whether we are tough enough on knife and gun crime in this country.
Well, clearly we're not. I mean, how is the supply of guns and knives so prolific that people can get these weapons and use them in these ways? We did some research in the Labour Party just a couple of weeks ago that showed that prosecutions and convictions for people using knives to maim and to kill had actually gone down rather than gone up. And that was despite the Conservatives being elected on a manifesto pledge to toughen it up. 3 strikes and you're out, they said. Actually, that has not happened. And when the system goes soft on that kind of killing, on that kind of crime, criminals take courage and they go out and do more of it. We absolutely have to understand what is going wrong in the system, look to every single part of it, but fundamentally, we need to be prosecuting and punishing and preventing in a way that is not happening with this government, because they cut 21,000 police off our streets. They've allowed nearly 60,000, a backlog of 60,000 cases in the courts. If we don't prosecute, we're not preventing. We have to do it.
Sharon Graham, we had on the programme yesterday, General Secretary of Unite. She was talking about the docker strike particularly, but she talked about other strikes as well. She says she'd like Labour to support workers in a more upfront way.
Well, Labour will support workers by putting forward proposals to how we can deal with the cost of living crisis that is really affecting people right now. Over this past decade, this Tory decade, it has been the lowest decade for wage growth since the Great Depression of the 1930s. So wages have been held down. They're falling now in real terms. And on top of that, we're now seeing prices in the shops hitting 10% inflation, projected incredibly to hit closer to 18% in the new year, and energy prices rocketing. So what was an average household energy bill of £1,000 a year ago, now projected to hit £5,000 in April. The Labour Party has proposed a fully costed plan to freeze energy prices so families do not have to face that £4,000 increase in costs that so many of us, so many people, the majority of people simply cannot afford. But where's the government? The government, the 2 contenders to be the next Prime Minister, and this seems to have gone on for months and months now, are just fighting each other like rats in a sack and refusing to come up with proposals to help people.
Is that true? I mean, Kwasi Kwarteng, who is widely tipped to be the next Chancellor, he's apparently met with at least one energy boss last week. They're looking at a £100 billion package. Now, you're going to say that was Labour's idea and they've stolen it from you.
Well, I know he and the current Chancellor, Nadhim Zahawi, met with the energy companies, and yet they put out a statement the same day that they weren't going to come to any agreements on it. People cut the price cap increases this Friday, 2 days away. Where's the government? We've got a zombie government that is doing nothing because this interminable leadership contest has gone on and on and on. And we've got, the flip-flops we've seen from them as well. Originally, Rishi Sunak said he wouldn't cut VAT from energy bills when we proposed it. Now he says he will. Liz Truss says she wasn't going to give what she called handouts, help to people that are really struggling. Now she says she might. More flip-flops from these two than you'll see on the beach in Brighton. But where are the hard ideas? Where are the decisions? This is the government.
When you practice that in the mirror, you should have said, I'm not going to use that line. That was a shocker. But you say they're doing nothing and they're a zombie government, but then in the same breath you say that the Chancellor's meeting with the energy companies.
Yeah, we didn't take any decisions. What's the point? They are the government. We are the opposition. They are the government. They are supposed to be taking decisions. We've come forward with a fully costed plan for how we would freeze energy prices over these coming months so families don't face a £4,000 increase. The vast majority of British households simply cannot afford. People are terrified. I've spoken to constituents in my own patch in Croydon North. They are terrified about how they're going to be able to afford this. They can't afford it. And if people can't pay because they can't afford to pay, what's going to happen to the energy companies anyway? We have to keep the system working. We need a government that will act rather than this zombie government that is doing nothing.
OK, quick thought on what's happening as far as Ukraine is concerned. Gas prices have gone up 34% this week. We don't get our gas directly from Russia, but the wholesale cost of gas goes up generally on the open market. How much longer can we afford to keep pressure on Russia as opposed to people being able to heat their homes here in the UK?
Oh, well, we absolutely have to maintain unity across the Western world against this illegal and brutal invasion of Ukraine by Vladimir Putin. If he gets away with this, then who's next? We simply cannot allow that to happen because ultimately the freedom of all of us is in peril. There are two things we need to do relating to the energy crisis that is resulting, at least in some part, from that. The first is to look at how we can freeze prices over these coming winter months, and Labour's already come up with a fully costed plan for that. We would love the government to recall Parliament so we can put that on the table and get it sorted, but they're refusing. But secondly, we need to look at how we can take back more control of our own energy in this country, and that means investing in more renewables. Currently, only 6% of our total energy comes from renewables. In France, it's 3 times that amount. The more that we control our own energy supply, the less we are prone to be the victims of very unreliable international gas supplies.
We must leave it there. It's great to see you as always. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.